Welcome back to MoistSMP. We are underground. So I told you in the last episode that I was going to do a little bit of work in the underground. I didn't want all the farms to be above ground and kind of ruining the sight line. So yeah, we have a thing here. As you can see, they don't quite line up, but that's mostly because I ran out of crops to use. However, we do now have crops coming in. How many crops? This many crops! Actually, way more than I expected, if I'm being pretty honest. However, this is not the only thing I've done on the server. If we go topside, you can see I have made an enemy of the Lorax.
I am the Lorax, guardian of the forest!
While I was sick the past few days, I ran around my plot, and I got rid of every single tree that was on my land claim. It was a lot of trees. I'm not even gonna kid you when I say all those chests, they're now completely full. Which means we do need a storage system. Now, one thing I did say I was going to do in the meantime between episodes is I might get a little bit of a moss farm going and started. However, I decided I have other priorities I need to get done first. For example, we need to get rid of all this dirt. All these? That's right, I'm gonna build an all these on the server. No, I need to get rid of all this dirt, all this stone, flatten out this land. But I need someplace to put it. I am running out of places to put things. And while I could build an all these and put everything there, it just doesn't seem like it's gonna work too well. I did, however, also do one other thing. There we are. I added some lovely shader packs, especially one that I use on an old horror SMP that gives this nice little spooky vibe to the area. Am I gonna keep playing with this the entire time? Absolutely not. But at least now I have it. No, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working on our storage situation. Like I said, all of these chests are entirely full, but they're full of wood. And with wood, we can make more chests, we can make more barrels, or we can use this absolutely insane amount of iron I have, and actually I'm going to do this real quick, and we can start making a nice little storage room to hold everything. Now, where am I gonna put it is the real question. Normally you would think, well, you'd put it in the barn. However, the barn, with a little bit of cheaty camp, so you guys get an idea, the main house is going to be going over here and the barn is going to be going up in this corner right here. That, of course, means I do need to flatten out all of this land before I do that. I didn't even notice there was a spider cave right there. But that does mean I need to flatten out all of this land beforehand. I want to get this all to one flat level. Actually, I may even turn the road, have the barn and everything over on this side of the island. So no, we're not going to put the storage room in the barn yet. We may change our mind later, but we're not going to put it there yet. One thing I always think of when I think of farms and wheat fields, that sort of thing, is mills. Think of Skyrim, that mill when you first get to Riverwood. The water wheel turning, it's being used to cut the logs. Though on a farm, with all the wheat, they're usually being used to create flour. And I think where we have this nice river right here, we might be able to alter the river's course and set up a nice little mill. And because I even did some extra work, I now have replay mod. So I'm gonna get that started, I'm gonna get the mill going, and I will see you guys after that. We are not going to go into how long that actually took me, but the mill is finally done. As you can see, It's flowing with the river. The leaves have been being pushed out into the river, making its way for... What was that over? That is a giant catfish, which we... One moment. Yeah, so apparently the catfish are causing some lag on the server. So if we see one, we've been asked to kill them because they hold a whole bunch of things in their bellies and it's just a pain. But yeah, we're not going to go into how long this place actually took me. It's not complete, but I love the way that looks like the roof has started caving in, being taken over by the moss from the river and the moisture. And even on the inside, we do have what looks like the remnants of an old mill. However, if you notice over here in the corner, we have something very, very different. This is my storage. There's a lot of storage. Where is all this storage? Is it just these barrels? Well, no, obviously not. If we go underground, you can see I have built a few storage tanks underneath here. This is going to be my main storage. So by having those under there, I can have everything I need, have access to it, and it looks like it's thematically correct because a lot of times in a mill, there'd be storerooms attached to it. So that way people could get to things, store the grain, store the wheat, store just the flour even. But what about the little side building I showed you? There's another building right here. This, I've just kind of turned into my little workshop. The idea is to try and get moved out of our cave over here entirely soon, just because the plan is also to take down this cave. Right now, all we have left in here is a bed, which honestly I can get rid of. And we can also, well, I want to keep the signs in here. We'll keep the signs in here for now. But the next big thing is definitely probably going to be clearing down this hill and flattening this land, which honestly I'll probably do on stream. So maybe there'll be some clips from the stream coming in very soon. Well then, I may not have gotten as much done as I wanted to, but I will say that is already substantially flatter than it was before. As you can see, let's do little cheaty free cam. We did a lot of work here. We actually got it down so far that you can see into my old chambers. But we went through, we cleared out this entire area all the way to the back. And as you can see, we made a dividing line. This was all done on stream. But we made this dividing line, giving me an idea of like the first section where I'm going to be taking down the ground, making sure everything flattens, so that way we can turn it into a more workable farm area. However, time got a little bit away from us. And we didn't quite have the time. This was about 3 hours worth of work on stream. Only couple things that we did was on stream, we also took our netherite pickaxe, got mending and fortune 3 on it. We also took a diamond shovel, which we got silk touch, efficiency 5, unbreaking 3, and mending. Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't the brightest when it came to that. And for the first little bit, I was just using a diamond shovel. Actually, I used 2 diamond shovels. And I was just going through, I'm like, oh, it won't be that much faster if I upgrade. I was so wrong. The moment I upgraded, it was night and day, and it just took over and went so much faster. But as you can see in my storage, we have a lot of dirt and cobblestone now and grass blocks, and the grass blocks are just from when we got that silk touch. These, again, I had done probably a layer or 2 of just the dirt before switching over to the silk touch and then getting the grass blocks. It was a little bit insane, but another thing that I do want to check is I want to go down underground and go give a quick check of our farms down here and see how they're doing. Because still, the plan is to eventually start up the farmer's market. I would say they're doing pretty darn well then, actually. 1,600 carrots, 1,600 tomatoes, 1,500 onions, 1,500 potatoes. I'd say we're doing pretty well. I'd say we're doing pretty well. Why don't we take out the oat seeds? Well, we'll take out a couple stacks of oat seeds. I know we did 1 time lapse already, but I think I just broke it. No! We'll fix that. I think a time lapse would look a little bit better for just filling out the rest of this area as opposed to just watching me. So, time lapse. There we go. That feels so much better. I fixed up the wall a little bit. That little retaining wall, which I had just had, is basically stone. Now it's a mix of stone, mossy stone, all that loveliness. Put up a couple of the lanterns, making sure the path is brightly lit, leading to the outbuildings. And I did finish up laying out the field, as you saw in that little bit of a time lapse. And I gotta say, I love the way this is all coming out. This has been such a joy for me to make, just because, hold on, let me turn off shaders, because I personally love farms. I've always wanted to have a farm. I've always wanted to be on a farm. I've always wanted to have that wide area of land where we just had crops growing. People could live a little bit more comfortably and have, to me, a little bit more connection with nature. That's really what it comes down to. So to be able to make this in Minecraft, but also make it into an old ruined style that may not be quite typical of what you usually see with people doing cozy farms in Minecraft, has just been an absolute treat for me. I will say this is going to be a shorter episode and we are going to wrap it up here. However, there's a reason for it. Let me get inside. Try again. There is a reason for it. That is because the next episode is going to be a lot more intensive. We are going to be working on several builds. We're going to make a bee farm. So an apiary, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. We're going to make an apiary. We're going to make a moss farm. And we're also going to get the permit for our shop. I just need to nail down Toffee so that way we can get everything going. But everyone, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you again on MoistSMP.